Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here to the end of the weekend. Well, we've still got quite a bit of Sunday left here to enjoy. It is the Earthmaster, April 14th, 2024. It's about 12:07 p.m. here along the west coast in California. Latest activity shows a 2.5 here on the Earthquake 3D globe, along with a 1.6 over here into the Texas area, where we're still seeing some earthquake activity ramping up out there in the oil fields. As far as any newer activity out here across the eastern portion of the country, got a handful of smaller quakes. One little lonesome quake down here across the Louisiana area from yesterday. That got added onto the map, it looks like, overnight. Also a little bit of movement up here across the New Madrid seismic zone, added onto the map overnight as well. And also a little earthquake this morning in the Tennessee area around the Appalachian Mountains. As far as the New Jersey area goes, fairly quiet up there for now. Not really seeing any earthquake activity being reported for that region. Southern California area, handful of very small microquakes, including a very small little quake there in between the San Andreas Fault and the San Jacinto Fault Zone. I don't think we've seen anything overnight as far as any larger movement goes. In fact, the 2.5 map and above removes pretty much all the earthquakes. So we've got a lot of small microquake activity out here under the 2.5 threshold. Nothing showing up there across the Pacific Northwest and into Yellowstone. Nothing showing up either, but let's just double check for verification. Really no major earthquake activity showing up here. There was some type of signature here yesterday about this time. I believe that's going to be one of the earthquakes away from the area. Looks like it may have been an earthquake over here around Idaho, but it's not showing up here. The signature that I'm looking at is going to be this one right here on Holmes Hill, Maple Creek, Purple Mountain. But that's about it. Really didn't show up on any other stations, so that's kind of hard to say if it was a legit earthquake or not. I guess over here too, around Parker Peak, there's a little blip of it showing up here on the graph as well. Hard to say exactly where that came from. Could be a distant earthquake as well. I mean, what do we have over the last 24 hours that are large? 5.3 Central Mid-Atlantic Ridge. That was last night, though, so I don't know. A little odd earthquake activity showing up here on Yellowstone, but nothing being reported. All right, as far as today, large-scale activity goes, well, the largest one so far, a 4.9 into the China area. That taking place here just within the last hour. Aside from that, we do have some movement here across the Mariana Islands. This earthquake coming in pretty recent as well. About 10 kilometers deep. If you look at the Earthquake 3D globe here, we're seeing a little bit of uptick here across the western areas of the Pacific Plate and adjacent Filipino Plate right here. Roughly about Taiwan southward into the Philippines and Indonesia Islands area, seeing quite a bit of clustering going on. Here's some of that newer quake activity today in Japan and the Mariana Trench as mentioned. Yesterday, we did see a handful of earthquakes up here across the Coral Kamchatka, so it does look like we're adjusting a little bit further down along the plate boundary. Lacking activity out here again around the Papua New Guinea area eastward. That includes Solomon Islands and Vanuatu. We'll continue to watch that area. It's almost a common occurrence to see a lot of deep activity here in the Tonga Trench, followed up by surface adjustment further away along the plate boundary. Eventually this fills in, but it's been a couple days here since we've had any decent earthquake activity, so we'll continue to watch that for today. Down across the New Zealand area, still seeing some threes. Threes appear to be the magic number underneath the North Island area, and looks like the latest quake there shows a 3.6, about 93 kilometers deep there around the in between the North and South Island area. That would be the southern end here of the Hikurangi subduction zone, which sits right about here, the southern end. Nothing showing up here on the USGS map because they don't normally show anything for that area unless it's above a 4. Occasionally they'll throw in a 2-pointer. Go figure. All right, Hawaii, not a whole lot going on there. Some 2s out there today, including a 2.5 being spoken into existence there, it looks like. Latest earthquake shows that 2.5 underneath the Pahala area. A couple earthquakes down there. Really nothing major changing, though, across the volcanoes for now. One earthquake way up here at the top of the Big Island, a 2.7 coming in earlier this morning, about 19 kilometers deep. No more odd quake activity out here for now, at least as far as none being listed. Up into the Eruption trench here, quite a few small microquakes and a couple threes out here this morning as well, but really nothing of major concern. And across the area of the Middle America Trench and the Peru-Chile Trench, let's check out the Earthquake 3D globe for that. A handful of earthquakes here, it looks like, off the coast of the Nicaragua area, it looks like, maybe Costa Rica as well on the Earthquake 3D globe here. It shows clustering of threes. Older movement up here across the northern edge of the Middle America Trench. And South America, goodness, got a lot of activity out here today from about the Peru area southward. All along the plate boundary here today. It looks quite active. Of course, yesterday we did see this pretty deep earthquake. Remember that 4.5 coming in 555 kilometers deep there. So that looks like an added strain up here across the subduction zone level of the surface regions. Notice quite a bit stirring up out here today along this plate boundary. We'll continue to watch that. The Atlantic Ocean, there's that 5.3. Originally came in as a 5-pointer, got downgraded to a 4.8, up to a 5.1, and it looks like it settled out for a 5.3. So a little bit of jumping around in terms of the magnitude out there in the central mid-Atlantic ridge. Aside from that, really nothing else popping up out here across the Atlantic aside from some very small microquake activity across the Azores here along this plate boundary. The Mediterranean region, a couple threes and some twos out here. Some movement stirring up out there into eastern Afghanistan, it looks like. Some fours. A little bit of deeper activity out here. From yesterday, we did see another 4-pointer way up around the China area, China border up there for a 4.6. And again, there's the latest earthquake in that region for a 4.9 in the China area. We got another, oh, that's that 3.6 I clicked on. I was like, how did another one pop up there? All right, what else we got out here, folks? Puerto Rico Trench looking pretty quiet. Only a handful of smaller quakes. Really not seeing anything major going on down here for now. A look at Iceland activity, see what's going on here for Iceland in terms of earthquake movement. Ooh, looks a little more active here today. 126 earthquakes. That probably includes some of these quakes that are on the negative side. Let's see where all that's at today. It looks like mainly across the area of the Grindavik region. Actually kind of covering down in this area as well. Very small quakes. I want to bring up just the normal magnitude. Something's going on out here across the Grindavik area. Let's go over here to the Live from Iceland site and see what we have. That's a little concerning. I haven't checked this yet today. There's one active vent out there, the main one. Still splashing some lava. Let's see, looking towards Hagafell from Grindavik. Really nothing of abnormal activity out there that I can see. Just for now, one decent fountaining vent out here. But as I've noticed on that earthquake map there, things are getting a little active out here across this area specifically. And that's this would be southwest of the current activity. The current activity is occurring roughly within this region right here, I believe, right about here. The current ongoing activity there, the eruption. But this earthquake movement is a little odd. Down there at, let's see what some of these depths are. Very shallow. 0.5 kilometers. There's 4 kilometers. 2, 3. There's a handful of quakes here in this area. The only thing I can think of would be some magma rolling around underneath this area. And that's not good because that's much closer to the town of Grindavik itself, over around the Naval Radio Transmitter Facility area. So this is this is new. We haven't seen something like this in a little while. (15:02). So it looks like the majority of these quakes. Let me go back to the last 6 hours, see what happens with this. 6 hours still shows a lot of that activity. Last 2 hours here removes that. So whatever's going on, definitely keep an eye on this area. I can't see this being anything good. We have seen a slowdown in the amount of volume that's being produced there from the current ongoing eruption there across the area northeast of Grindavik. But it looks like something's starting to stir. Something's starting to stir up out here, and it's literally within town of the Grindavik area. Let me see if there's any new information. I'm sure they'll put out an update tomorrow. I just want to see if they got one up today. 4:14. It does look like they put this one out fairly recent. The eruption at this region here remains constant. That's just that main crater I was just showing you guys. The eruption that began back on March 16th remains constant, so we're coming up on a month-long eruption now. Land rise continues at a similar pace since the beginning of April. Still got the risk assessment for air quality. Only a few small earthquakes less than magnitude 1 have been recorded northwest of Grindavik in the last few hours. It says only a few. The activity is mostly located within the trough formed on November 10th. That should state magma dike or magma intrusion area, and is probably due to the effects of the land giant, the land rise in the Savart Singi area, which causes voltage changes. That is this Icelandic page being translated into English, so we know that's not voltage changes. This is going to be GPS changes in that area, but that's again, that's a little concerning. The seismic activity today is similar to the activity measured in this area in the middle of last March. The seismic activity is therefore not a sign of any changes in the activity of the volcano, so they state, which has remained fairly stable over the weekend. The seismic activity northwest of Grindavik is also not a sign that magma is on the move under that area. Okay, well, they're straight up stating that this has nothing to do with magma. It is not considered likely that the large earthquakes accompanying this activity that is currently being measured. The seismicity has only subsided northwest of... Okay. Well, I mean, that's... if magma were to look elsewhere, then the way it... That's crazy. It's kind of hard to read this. If magma were to move elsewhere, the way it has crossed the crater area, the precursor to a possible eruption in that area would be very intense earthquakes and deformation that would be clearly visible on measuring instruments and satellites. There are no signs of that at this point. But earthquake activity, I think we got to keep an eye on that. They state, no, nothing's going on here. But let's go check out the GPS measurements here around that area. We got earthquake activity. Next thing that we look for is potential GPS inflation here across the Grindavik area. I think this is a working one. And the vertical displacement right about here. We're missing some data down here. You guys see that? Where's that data at? That's a little concerning. Where'd the data go? Hold on a second. Is it on the other station? Let's see here. I believe this is the one that's offline. Yeah, that's the one that got covered up by the magma or the eruption event back in January. I stopped working there in January. But looking at this GPS map here, here's April 12th down here. This is a huge spike compared to what the last measurements showed there at the end of March. So obviously we're going up. The question is how much more up from the last couple days with this renewed earthquake activity there. A little interesting. So either way, we're still going up. Let's see if I can get I'll go to the 8-hour runs here real quick. I need to sort out my my bookmarks here because I have hundreds of bookmarks that are very important, but I got them all cluttered in. So here is the GPS. Here's the Grindavik one. Looks like this one's working, at least the 8-hour run times. And I see a sharp spike right here beginning about April. See that? About the time here when the eruption had calmed down a little bit. You know, we did have 2 active vents for a little bit, and then it just went down to 1. Look at that output here. That's actually a decent inflation event right here. And this is the Grindavik GPS stations. So there's definitely some land rise. To ignore that and then put out there is no land rise, I'm seeing it. What is this? You know, that's at least a good, let's see, 30, probably a good 25 or almost 30 mm up displacement right there. So a little interesting. I have to keep an eye on it. I'm definitely going to be checking back on that here on the updates because I'm seeing ongoing earthquake activity or new earthquake activity followed up here with a displacement going on there across the Grindavik area. So we'll keep an eye on that, folks. You know, very dynamic out here. It's a longer duration event than the past few eruptions, and you know, even though these guys are the professionals up there, do they know everything? Probably not. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll report back on it and see what happens. If this just goes away and we continue to see inflation, well, that's also something we need to watch as well. But for now, 1 active vent out there. We'll keep an eye on it. All right, what else we got here for earthquake activity? I think that's about it in terms of earthquake movement. For space weather, I know we're starting to sizzle with M flares. Let me make sure I got the most recent update here. Looks like Kevin's having some issues here with his solar flare detection, so we'll go here to the main site. Notice that we're crackling and popping here with lots of C flares. We are getting a little M flare activity here in the last couple days, but we're taking that stair-stepping ladder upwards towards the almost consistent M flare activity, and that is due to a couple large sunspots here that are making their appearance off of the eastern limb. This is old sunspot 3615, the culprit of many M flares. The last time it was out here on the Earth-facing side of the sun, it made a complete trip on the opposite side, and here we are for a second time. Another large sunspot area up here. If I remember right, this is going to be 3590 or residual 3590 that came back around last time, and this would be a third time around. That's crazy. These things last for quite a while, but they're renamed to new sunspots once they venture back here onto the Earth-facing side of the sun. Either way, these are very giant sunspots. Look at that. There's a huge mess here of now named 3638 and 3637. It looks like they have this split for some reason in terms of separate sunspots. But they are looking very large, somewhat complex up here. Hard to tell back around the far eastern limb. But definitely got a couple different sunspots gaining some momentum here. We'll have to watch that in the coming days for some stronger flaring activity. Look at the UV filter array here. Does show quite a bit of bright features, indicating some flaring going on currently within these sunspots. Right now, this one up here looks to be one of the main ones. But a lot of active arches going on here in the magnetic fields. Overall threat right now shows a 99% chance for C flare, M flare at 45, and the X flare probability around 5%. There's our C flare activity currently taking place, and it's a C1.8. I think we'll watch that. I think we'll see some more flaring coming up here real soon. All right, for the Aurora forecast tonight here, Detailed forecast shows the expected arrival of a couple different CMEs around 18 to 2400 UTC time. Current UTC time is, about 1925, so we're within that window where we could be seeing the auroras kick up. So far, I don't see any signs of it. The KP index pretty quiet across the board, therefore the auroras are going to be quiet. A look at let me see here. Let me bring this up. I thought I had it bookmarked, but maybe I didn't. Is this going to be it? Yeah, this is going to be the forecast here for tonight. Potential auroras coming in. Pretty decent chance, it looks like. KP index of around 4 is what's expected or forecasted. And, it keeps it limited up there across the northern tier states into Canada and Alaska. Maybe Greenland and Iceland as well. That's for tonight, pending these CMEs that were forecasted don't completely miss us. Here's for tomorrow night. A little bit less chance. I think if we're going to see it, got to get out there tonight. Again, just very limited up here across the area of the states, mostly up into Canada and the Alaska area. All right, what else we got here? Far side of the sun. This is an older image from a couple days ago. Let's see here. Even this one's a little old. But there's our sunspots on the eastern limb, the large region down here, the active region up here as well. Behind that, there's not a whole lot of large areas, but there is what looks like a few sunspot regions that we'll watch as they come around the eastern limb here in the next few days. Far as asteroids out here go, I'm going to be checking in on this. This is the latest updated next 5 asteroid approaches. For right now, all of these are 2 or 3 million miles from Earth when they pass by. Except for this one, about 791,000, a 40-foot diameter asteroid named 2023 FN13. It's a bus-size asteroid. Today's date, but at this distance here, I think we are safe. I think whenever we see something up here at around 50,000 miles or so within Earth distance from the asteroid, then we'll go into more details and look at specifics about that asteroid and how close it could get to Earth. But this is even 791 miles is 791,000 miles is the distance. That's 1,270,000 kilometers. So that's still quite a safe distance. But for now, that's what we got there on the board. We'll continue to check on that. Storm Prediction Center here. We got a severe weather threat in enhanced area across the northeast up here. 5% chance for tornado probability and a 2% zone as well around Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Canton, Ohio. These areas need to be on guard today for some severe weather. Looks like some wind and a little hail threat up here as well. That's for today. Now tomorrow, well, this is supposed to be the big event tomorrow. Looks like they've drawn it out here a little bit, kept the main risk area fairly narrow, but the tornado threat looks like that's backed off a little bit, and that's good news. They were talking about maybe potentially a huge tornado outbreak because of this setup. Seen a couple famous storm chasers mentioning that. But still, don't let this 5% and 2% chance fool you, because there is still a possibility of seeing tornado activity. Wind, and looks like the main threat is going to be some hail tomorrow. So just a heads up, that's a huge hatched area. That's for Monday. Day 3 outlook. This is going to be for the Tuesday time frame. Severe weather shifts a little bit further east, taking with it the tornado and hail threat. As we look at the long-range models here, here's our storm system right now in California. It's still a little cloudy, a little cool. Got about 56 degrees. Had a little bit more rain this morning, which is kind of nice. That is going to scoot off to the east and interact with the moisture over here across the southern plains and create that severe potential there. You guys see that? It doesn't look like, I mean, the main areas where they have that marked on the Storm Prediction Center map, it would be over here. But this GFS model is trending drier out here with more moisture further across to the east. So this is a little uncertain onto exact timing and location here of that severe weather tomorrow. Either way, I think we'll have the threat. But it does look like it's going to be a little bit more off of this area. And as we head towards this weekend, or next weekend, I should say, got some systems coming in here into the Texas area. This starts about a week-long event or more of unsettled pattern out here across Texas area, with it looks like general thunderstorm activity, wave after wave. Thursday of not this coming week, but the next week could have a severe weather potential up in Kansas. It's a fairly decent setup. We'll have to keep an eye on. And after that, it just looks like pattern after pattern, getting a lot of rain in here, and I know these guys need it. They've been dealing with some drought and whatnot, but I think they're pretty close to being out of it. If I recall, let's see here. Where's our drought? Our drought map. I know here in California we are pretty well taken care of. Here's the drought map, current drought map, it looks like, for the states. Still got some areas up here in Kansas that are dealing with some decent drought. It looks like some of these storms that are coming up are going to focus on Kansas with some substantial moisture. So that's good news for the folks up there in that beautiful state of Kansas. Little areas of Texas as well, but as a whole, there's definitely been a big improvement here throughout this wintertime. California not in the drought whatsoever. That's super good news. Moisture anomaly, we got a lot of moisture in the ground for this time of year. April can be a hot month for us. We could be easily up in the upper 80s and low 90s here with no more rain in the forecast, because our rainy season here along the west coast in California runs from about November to March, into March. Sometimes we get April storms, but I think we're set. Pretty good. Not quite ready for the 100-degree temperatures, but this is a moisture anomaly. Kansas, look at that. Hopefully that will change for you guys. Current soil moisture out here. This is the current. Shows quite a bit of decent moisture out here in the ground. Kansas and other areas, still a little on the, this is a surface area, but if you go down deeper regions, you can see California is still pretty good out here, not so much. But hopefully, folks, things will change with these series of storm systems coming up. Get Kansas a good amount of moisture up there for the farmers. All right, folks, I'm out of here. I got to get a whole bunch of school stuff done here today before Monday, which is, unfortunately, tomorrow. Again, seems like it comes up super duper quick. All right, folks, have a good day. We'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later on this evening, unless something major happens. Take care. Enjoy your Sunday.